Well, tiny bit more progress. I actually took the barrels off and found that the crank case, not the gearbox, because the gearbox and the crankcase are separate on a two-stroke, um, was full of this oil. So whoever stored this engine, which is probably Simon who I bought it off, filled the all the crankcases up with oil, which is bloody fantastic. That stops the seals drying out over time, because that's the main failure on two-stroke cranks, on classic two-strokes. When they get parked up for a long time, the seals dry out, and then when they're started up they crack, leak, and then that usually takes a bearing or two out as well. So I've got the cylinders off. First thing of note is that the pistons are 0.25 over, which is great. So that's not a huge amount over. Cylinders are in pretty good condition, I think. I looked at so far. Here's the reed blocks. They took a bit of getting out, just being patient, just with a hide mallet, copper mallet. So you can see how these reed valves work. So, you know, vacuum from the crankcase just opens these valves up, lets the fuel air mixture in at the right time, and then when the piston starts coming back up and the crankcase gets pressurized, they shut. And they all look pretty good to reuse, need a clean. And this is the power valve unit. So this is in two halves, so there's the split. Obviously they have to be in two halves to come out. We have a series of seals, etc. These normally get quite gunky with the two-stroke oil that's in the cylinder. Interestingly, on the right hand cylinder I am completely missing one seal and seal block, so I hope it wasn't running like that, because this end would have just been jangling about. Don't think it was run like that. Let's hope not, but it might have been. That shaft doesn't look too clever now I'm looking at it. So yeah, I might be sourcing some new power valve parts or trying to recondition these. Just see what happens basically. Little end bearings and gudgeon pin and rings, they all look pretty good. The pistons look pretty good. They look good enough to clean up and reuse. All pretty standard stuff for us two-stroke, considering that two-stroke pistons are really regarded as a consumable. Same with rings, and crankshafts really are considered consumable on race two-strokes anyway. So yeah, these power valve balls look alright. Needs a good clean up, that's for sure. Yeah, they're not too bad though. I've seen a lot worse on these power valves. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you just quickly the piston porting. So you can see there's the piston. So obviously this is the inlet port. So your reed block sits in here. This is your piston block, and basically as your piston goes up, there are windows in the rear of the piston which allow the air fuel mixture to come in and enter the crankcase, and then obviously, so that piston's at about that position, so the exhaust port is still open, so exhaust port closing and exhaust port closed, and inlet just about closed. It's closed there, approaching top dead center, and then we go bang, and it goes back down again, and as soon as that exhaust port is clear, it can start expelling gases, and as the piston's dropping down, that's pressurizing the crankcase, and the transfer ports open, so these ports on the side, so this is where the fuel and air mixture comes in, through these transfer ports on the side of the engine, not through the back of the engine, because that enters the crankcase. And then on the underside, these are the transfer ports that run from the crankcase up to the side of the cylinder that we've just seen. And as the piston comes down, that pushes the gases up into the cylinder for another cycle of bang. And yeah, we also have a little transfer port on the back, which is just sort of up there. You can just sort of see it just up there. So that's like a direct sort of inlet port, which just sort of helps get all the fuel air mixture in there. So yeah, it's not too bad. That's the main issue I've found so far is this, but I'll need to degrease these, clean them all up and have a proper look and see if this part is recoverable. If not, I'll be buying a new power valve half from somewhere to replace this one. Plus obviously I need the new seal block, which will basically, if you compare these two power valves, so that's got the whole lot and this hasn't, and it needs one of these whole seal blocks is required on that power valve for it to work properly. So yeah, a bit more progress.